Hello again and welcome back to March Payne's Midlife Dolly Crisis, and also welcome back to Elwyn Wilde. This is Chasing Rainbows Elwyn Wilde, who you might remember I bought last year. She was the first doll from the Elwyn Wilde range that I actually bought, and she is a 1/4 scale doll. She was the first doll I'd had of this size, and she is considerably bigger than a Barbie. But she's actually a very nice size to kind of handle and, you know, dress and kind of make stuff for, because it's kind of less fiddly than trying to do the same thing with a 1/6 scale doll. She was considered a basic doll because she essentially came with one piece of clothing, which is this sequin shift dress, which I kind of wish was a little bit longer. I think if you went out drinking in this, it might get a bit adult, shall we say, because it is very short. And she came with a pair of shoes, and she also came with the stand. Elwyn was kind of created to be the antithesis of another doll, which Robert Tonner had created a number of years previously, and that is the Tyler Wentworth doll. And I've got a Tyler Wentworth doll, which I'm going to show you today. So this is kind of the first of these that I've ever bought. I'm going to bring her up. She's still in her packaging. So this particular one, obviously the reason that I've got her with my basic Elwyn doll is because this is also considered a kind of a basic model of her. So she again is in a one-piece outfit with a pair of shoes, and she has a stand in there as well. So this particular Tyler Wentworth doll, or she's basically part of the Tyler Wentworth collection, is known as Ready to Wear Sensational Sydney Blonde. So the actual face sculpt for this doll is not the Tyler Wentworth sculpt. This one is actually Sydney Chase, who you might know, because she looks very familiar, is also, I believe, the face sculpt for the Grace doll, which, similarly to Elwyn Wilde, is sold exclusively through the Virtual Doll Convention. Again, she is the same size, so she is a 1/4 scale size. She is more, I would say, in proportion. Whereas Elwyn Wilde has got a bigger head, which makes her a bit more sort of like dolly, I suppose. So all the dolls in the Tyler Wentworth collection, whether they're actually Tyler Wentworth herself or Sydney Chase or Esme, or there's a whole load of them, they are more kind of in proportion than Elwyn, in that they have smaller heads, so they look less dolly-like and a bit more sort of realistic. So look, I'm going to get her out and we're going to have a proper look at her. So first up, we're going to have a quick look at the packaging. So she comes in this kind of like clear plastic tube, which I would imagine is very good for collectors, because it means you can kind of display her in there. I think this was only for these kind of basic dolls. The basic dolls seem to be called ready to wear, presumably because they come in like one outfit and then you would change them out. And there were actually quite a lot of sort of fashion packs and different sort of separates that you could buy for the Tyler Wentworth range of dolls. So yeah, she was in this. The dolls which were a bit more clothed and not considered basic, basically they came in tall boxes, a bit like Elwyn Wilde comes with. I've had a bit of a go at the top here. So it's been obviously sellotaped. She hasn't been necessarily removed from the box properly, but I think over the years the box has kind of deteriorated a little bit. Obviously that was kind of stuck on. The bottom is kind of coming out completely, and the doll looks a little bit, not dirty, but she's got a little bit of wear on her. So I did just want to quickly show you this. This was the logo for the Tyler Wentworth collection. As you can see, we've got a kind of a fancy T and a W, and then we've got this quite sort of alluring looking mannequin there. That's all in gold. So that's quite classy. And the packaging for this doll particularly, I think is very nice. It was very easy to get her out. Basically, she would have had ribbons sort of attaching her inside the box. So that's the box. And here is the gal herself. Now, I'm not really sure about this stand. So this is a saddle stand, which obviously Elwyn also comes with. But this one is, I don't know if it's just not long enough. It doesn't seem to do what it's meant to do. So I'm just showing you on this so you can actually see it. So this is a Perspex base, which is a solid piece. We've got Tyler Wentworth there in fancy writing, which is nice. And then we've got this, which is kind of, I guess, what she's meant to balance on. But this you can't pull it out any further, so it's not a telescopic one. And it just feels not long enough for the doll to kind of, to saddle her, or, you know, she's meant to kind of balance between it. But unless you're just meant to lean her up against it, it's a bit odd. I'm not actually a fan of it. That is her in it there. I don't know if she's stable. If there's an earthquake, well, actually, if there was an earthquake, I'd be surprised. But if there was an earthquake, I would worry she's going to fall over. She seems to kind of stand up okay. She pretty much can stand in the shoes, which is pretty good. I'm going to bring her up so you can have a look at her better. So here she is. So this is not the Tyler Wentworth face sculpt. This face sculpt is the Sydney Chase face sculpt. It is a very nice face. There's a lot of really nice kind of details on there. The way they've actually painted this one, she does look a little bit kind of haughty. I don't know. I think it's the arch of the eyebrows there. That was one of the reasons I actually quite like this one. I should mention I got her from Vinted. She's come to me from France. So she does have, I think, a bit of a tan going on. She has sort of brown eyes. She's got sort of pink lips. Her hair is sort of tied up behind her. I am going to turn her around so you can see it properly. Okay, so hopefully you can see that there. So her hair is sort of tied up at the back into a sort of a high sort of ponytail which goes into the rest of the hair. This is sort of like a beaded hair tie. The hair is actually not stitched, but there's basically cotton around this little ponytail. So there's no elastic bands, thankfully, because we all know what happens to elastic bands after a while. So that's nice. That could be removed, I would imagine. I don't know if I'm going to remove it. It seems all right, you know, for now. The hair is a very nice sort of, almost like a honey colour. It's not sort of a bright blonde, but obviously it is pretty blonde. It's cut very nicely. It's very soft. I'm presuming it's kind of a nice quality hair. She has little earrings in as well. So we have these little dangly pearls. I don't actually have any Elwyn Wilds that have earrings. I mean to kind of, you know, give them the pierced ears, but I am very scared about it. If we go further down, we can have a look at the outfit that she comes in. So it's obviously a one piece. It looks like a swimming costume, the kind of thing that, you know, you'd wear if you were lying around by the pool, or, you know, if you're in a Miss World competition. It's white. It's very nicely sewn. It's attached at the back. So there's a press stud at the back there, and I think, yeah, there's also some press studs at the back of her as well. Let me move this out the way. Yeah, so there's a few press studs at the back there, one of which has come undone, but I think there's like 3 press studs there. She's also got tights on. I'm presuming they're not connected to this, or maybe they are. No, I think they're separate. Yeah, so they're separate. And then she has these little white shoes here. I'm actually going to take her out the costume so we can have a look and see what kind of articulation she has. Okay, so here she is having a lie down. I thought it was going to be easy to show you the articulation this way. So she's got on her head, she's got the neck the neck tilt, which is always nice. I think that can give a lot of life to these dolls, really, when you can kind of tilt the head and they're not just going back and forth, back and forth. So that's very good. We've also got articulation in the arms. These arms actually look very similar to Elwyn's arms, but I think they're probably a bit thinner. But the actual kind of joints look very similar to hers. Now, she does not have articulation in the wrist. And she doesn't have a manicure either. There is a little bit of dirt on there, which will probably just come off, I think. But yeah, she doesn't have a manicure. Now, depending on when the doll was produced, they did have more articulation as they went on. So earlier versions of the Tyler Wentworth dolls did not even have kind of like elbow articulation. They were essentially kind of just sort of straight armed. So some of the later versions of these dolls do actually have wrist articulation, which is always really good. There is articulation here in the torso, so this kind of moves back and forth. And there's also articulation at the waist, and that's actually quite a nice one. I think sometimes they find it hard with the waist to try and create a sort of movement there where you're not kind of like disjointing the doll completely. This is a very kind of a smooth twist of the waist there. And that all kind of links up there. And then the legs, I think, are basically kind of the same as the Elwyn doll, in that there's movement here at the hip, and you can sort of move the legs back and forth, sort of out as well. I'm not doing it too much because she is actually wearing the tights still. You can bend her at the knee, like that. And then there's no articulation at the ankle. She just got the sort of the high-heeled feet, which again is similar to Elwyn Wild. So body shape-wise, I would say the torso reminds me of sort of like the 1950s sort of, you know, that kind of whole sort of triangle, the way that it's wide at the shoulders and then the waist comes in and it's quite small. Very similar to, you know, how the Barbie dolls used to be, where they were very small at the waist. So, now that I've got her undressed, I'm going to have a look through the clothes that I currently have for Elwyn Wild, because I think some of them will fit her. They just might be a bit of a different shape on her because her body is a different shape. And yeah, I'm going to get her into something and we'll have a final look at her. So here she is. I've put her in this strawberry themed dress, which I believe was from last year, from the Virtual Doll Convention. So yeah, she's in that. It's just an all-in-one. The shape of it, certainly from the top, is quite similar to this sort of swimsuit that she had on originally. She's still wearing the white shoes. I think shoe-wise, we may have to have a look and see what might work for her. I haven't actually tried any of Elwyn's shoes on, but I'm presuming they possibly won't fit, in that I know that the Grace shoes don't fit Elwyn, and sort of vice versa. So they probably have a different sort of shape, or kind of the way that the heeled feet are on both dolls is a bit different. I'm actually very pleased with her. I feel that she's a bit more sort of a classic doll, almost, when compared to Elwyn. Elwyn feels a bit younger, whereas this doll feels as though she is from a kind of an older era where sort of glamour ruled, kind of thing. And certainly, you know, the look on her face is, you know, she's above it all, really, isn't she? Let me know what you think of her down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And please share the video if you know anyone else that would like this kind of content. And I will see you in the next one. So until then, take care. Bye.